Battlefield 6 is one of my most anticipated games of the year, so with the beta starting, I decided to waste no time and jump right in to see if they finally brought Battlefield back. And after spending hours in the chaos, the explosions, and experiencing those only in Battlefield moments, I think they just might have done it.
An ambitious peak. Okay. Oh my God! There goes the front of my building. Oh! Alright. Oh! Wow! I'm coming, men! Wow! Alright, let's get off of this. Come on. Oh! What happened? He brought the building down on me. What an asshole. Ooh, that was gnarly. What were you doing? No, grenades! We got this. Woo! Hell yeah! Oh, that was a sick game. I'm glad we won that too. That was so nice. Oh, this game is really good.
I want to be clear right from the start. This is still a beta. It's not the full picture, and what we're getting here is simply a slice of the pie. And while that's exciting, it also means that these things are subject to change. For me, the big question going in was, would Battlefield 6 feel like a Battlefield game? Not just a shooter with big maps, but that unique mix of destruction, scale, teamwork, and unpredictability that games like Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 4 nailed so perfectly. Over the last few entries, a lot of fans, myself included, felt that identity slipping. We got ambitious ideas, but not always the heart and grit that made us fall in love with the series in the first place. So in this video, I want to break down my time in the beta, the good and the things that I think need some work before launch, and why, despite it being just a small slice, I'm already feeling more optimistic than I have in years about the series' direction.
Oh man, it just feels so good to be back on Battlefield again. Just everything from the aesthetic and just the way this plays, it's just so incredibly satisfying. Oh my God! What is that? Oh yeah, let's just really take in the aesthetic of it all and just enjoy what we get. You know, this is the biggest thing I missed with Battlefield 1 and the likes. It's really that modern battle.
When I loaded into my very first match of the beta, there was this immediate sense of familiarity. Almost like that feeling you would get when you hear an old song you haven't heard in years, and suddenly that rhythm comes rushing back to you. Battlefield 6 feels like it's leaning hard into what made games like Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 and 4 so special to me. These big, chaotic modern battles with enough room for personal stories to unfold inside of them. There's this nice balance of structure and unpredictability that I've really missed over the years. The way buildings crumble with the much improved destruction is also incredibly satisfying, and something they put front and center in the reveal in their trailers. The destruction itself is of course a staple of the Battlefield franchise, and I'm glad to say that it's incredibly good here. The gunplay feels tight, snappy, and more satisfying than I would expect from a beta. Weapons have weight, not just in their recoil patterns, but in the way they sound and in the way they kick when you fire them. It's not perfect yet, but it's already worlds apart from the somewhat inconsistent handling that we found in 2042's launch state. And map design, at least from what I've seen so far, feels much more layered, albeit a bit on the small side. During weekend 1 of the beta, we only get 3 maps, of which 2 are focused on urban choke points and multi-floor buildings that encourage infantry skirmishes. Now, I'm not saying that Battlefield 6 is simply a copy-paste of the olden days. It's not a nostalgia trip with modern graphics. You can tell that they're still pushing forward by adding new movement options like the crouch sprint, rethinking how some of the gadgets work, and by finally removing Tac Sprint to make movement feel much more consistent. The biggest thing here is that the foundation feels right this time, and I think for a lot of us, that foundation is everything. In many ways, this beta feels like the series is trying to write its course, and fans are both hopeful as they are fired up. The most tangible sign? When the beta launched, there was a queue well over 250,000 people, and a peak player count of 521,000 on Steam alone. That kind of beta engagement is absolutely wild. It speaks volumes about how eager players are for a return to form of this series. At least I know I am. It's also no secret that Battlefield 2042 left a sour taste for many. But with this new entry, DICE seems to be listening. They brought back the class system, a traditional scoreboard, and reintroduced the grounded and war-dedicated tone that fans have been craving for. That mix of nostalgia and guarded optimism has been everywhere. In fact, over 500,000 wishlists for Battlefield 6 have appeared on Steam, and social media is buzzing with excitement for this new entry into the series. On the development side of things, the messaging has been clear as well. Jeremy Chubb, DICE's multiplayer producer, said that Bad Company 2 is a huge inspiration behind Battlefield 6, especially its immersive destruction and fidelity. The goal, it sounds like, was to recapture that magic, and the way things are looking now, they might actually stand a chance. To sum it up, this beta isn't just another test weekend. It's a chance to deliver what fans have yearned for years. A grounded warfare with tactical destruction and a heartfelt homage to what made Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, and 4 so incredibly iconic. And the early signs are telling me that we're damn close to getting it. That's one. Ooh, out of the driver's seat. Ooh, that's a triple. Ah. He's picking up his friends down there. That's one. Hit marker. That's two. God, sniping feels so satisfying here. You're dead. I got one bullet left. I'm glad that sniping, especially long-range sniping, feels good again as well, but they didn't drop the ball on this one. Let's talk about the maps. Because in Battlefield, the map isn't just a backdrop, it's part of the experience. It shapes every fight, and is in my opinion one of the most important things to get right. From what we've seen so far in the beta, the map design feels like a love letter to the series' golden years. My only complaint so far is that in Weekend 1, the 3 maps we get are generally considered to be quite small, which leaves vehicles a little behind. That being said, I find that these smaller maps still play great, and the action and chaos remains relatively manageable. Then there's the destruction, and man, I have missed this level of environmental impact. We're not just talking about tossing a grenade through a window and calling it a day. I mean, walls are caving and under sustained fire. You have buildings that are losing entire sections during a firefight, and cover that actually disappears if it takes too much damage. It really changes the flow of a match in a way that static maps just never can. You might start a round holding an objective in a solid fortified building, but 20 minutes later, that same building could become a hollowed out shell, forcing you to fight out in the open. It creates this evolving battlefield that demands you adapt on the fly. One thing I am missing is how the natural transitions can feel in the bigger maps. You could be trading fire in a city street, hop into a vehicle, and within 30 seconds you can be in a completely different fight on the outskirts. The game doesn't force you into one style of combat, it lets you choose, and that is in my opinion when Battlefield truly shines. I hope to be seeing this in one of the bigger maps later on. This is the closest I felt to the classic only in Battlefield moments in years. Those times where you blow open a wall to flank the enemy, or you're sprinting through the ruins of a collapsing building with debris falling around you, and you just think, yeah, this is exactly what I came for.
Alright, we got B. This is going exceptionally well, dare I say. I like this map. This definitely feels a bit more European, Southern European, urban style, opposed to the more of the desert maps that I've gotten used to in this beta. Now the plan is simple. Oh, I ran out of ammo! Assist counts as kill, thank God. Can I get it? Whoa! I'm in a pretty good spot here. Where did his friend go? I think we got it. Hell yeah, we got it. Where did he go? Wait! Oh my God! I didn't even see him down there. It's a kill. Oh, crap. They're onto me there. Looks like the whole party's here. I love how much this team is moving together. That's what makes these games feel so much better as well, is when the team actually works together. I think that's really where Battlefield shines, in that, you know, even though I'm playing alone, if you can still help the team by destroying the tanks, by reviving one another, by making sure you don't die when you're the last one in the squad, it just really gives that nice experience that I have found you just don't get in any other shooter. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh no. They're blowing this place to bits. Oh, there goes the building. Yep. That's as good a time as any to leave and find somewhere else to go.
One of the things that stood out to me in the beta is just how good the gunplay feels. Every weapon has weight. You can instantly tell whether you're firing an assault rifle, a marksman rifle, or an SMG. The recoil has character again, with patterns you can learn, master, and eventually control. The sound design takes it even further. Every shot has bite. Battlefield has always done well in this department, even in its more recent entries, but I think it's worth mentioning that it's still jaw-dropping. This also isn't just audio telling you what's happening. It's pulling you into the fight and making you feel it, really helping add to that incredible immersion that makes these games so special. Compared to 2042, the difference in my opinion is night and day. Gone is that slight airsoft feeling, replaced with a more grounded and deliberate pacing that we saw back in games like Bad Company 2. You can't just spray and pray through an entire squad, unless you're up close with an SMG or shotgun and your aim is dead on, but even then, you're gonna have a hard time. Movement actually feels like it's finally in the sweet spot between speed and control. You're quick enough to push objectives and reposition, but not so fast that firefights turn into a twitchy arena shooter. Sliding, vaulting, and mantling are all smooth, and with the removal of attack sprint, moving from point A to point B feels much more streamlined and consistent. The pacing of fights benefit massively from this. You still get those intense bursts of actions by clearing a room or having a rooftop skirmish, but they are usually followed by slower, more tense moments where you're moving with your squad, deciding whether to push or hold an objective. That ebb and flow has always been one of Battlefield's biggest strengths, and it's alive and well here. What I love most is how satisfying these fights feel. Even with the faster time to kill, you still have a chance to fight back if you don't land the first shot. Most of the time, when I died, I wasn't frustrated at the game, I was actually frustrated at myself for making a bad decision, and that's exactly how it should be. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about the two big things that stood out during my time in the beta. First off, I was pleasantly surprised with the performance. I played on a relatively strong PC, and on my system the frame rates were solid, with only the occasional dip during the most chaotic moments. The netcode felt noticeably more consistent than what we had in 2042's early days. Hit registration was also reliable, and there were far fewer of those "I swear I was behind cover" deaths that can really sour a match for me. Visually, I think the game looks fantastic. The lighting, the particle effects, and the textures are all top tier, especially when explosions light up the streets or as you see a building collapse with a kick-up of dust. That being said, I do think that there are still a few things I'm really hoping make it into the full launch, starting with a proper server browser. Right now, matchmaking works, but Battlefield at its best has always thrived when players can find a server they love and stick with it. Being able to pick specific maps, game modes, and communities simply adds so much replay value, and I'd really hate to see that missing. The other point for me is map variety, or more specifically skill. The beta maps have been a blast, but they do lean heavily towards a smaller, infantry-focused layout. I personally miss the feeling of the big, sprawling, multi-biome maps where you could go from the urban street fights to the open fields where vehicles really have their power. This, of course, is only weekend 1 of the beta, and we will have to wait for the full launch to see how the bigger maps play out. Either way, things are looking good already, and my hopes are quite high. So after hours in the beta, where does that leave us? For me, Battlefield 6 feels like the series is finally remembering what it's best at. The chaos, the teamwork, the destruction, and the vehicles, it's all here. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like the foundation is truly solid. It's not just nostalgia talking either. I think that there's a confidence in the design that I haven't really felt since the days of Battlefield 4. But I also want to be realistic. This is still a beta, and what we've played is just a fraction of the game, a single slice of what is supposed to be a much bigger pie. We haven't even touched the campaign yet, or the bigger maps that make Battlefield, Battlefield. There are some balancing issues and some rough edges, but none of that is surprising for a pre-launch test. However, it is worth remembering that the magic we're feeling right now still has to survive the transition to a full release. The hype is real, and I think it's really deserved. But what matters most is whether they can carry this energy all the way to launch and beyond. Battlefield has always been more than a game. I think it's a platform for those unforgettable moments that you talk about with your friends years later. And if they stick the landing here, Battlefield 6 could be the one that brings us back to the golden era. I'll be there day 1, ready to see the full scope of what they've built, and if the beta has any indication, we might just be in for something special. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe down below to make sure you don't miss the next one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.